Welcome to the Luminous Life Podcast. I'm Erika Menanteaux, your host, and in each episode, we'll talk to women about how they are living their most luminous lives. We'll hear about the moments where their beauty, skin, and soul fuse together to pick them up, dust them off, and create change and impact they never thought was possible. It's never easy, and here they'll share how they did it and what they're doing next. Katie Diamond is by far the coolest chick on this block. Her sense of style rivals her sense of humor, and we cannot get enough. Once a pre-med major, Katie left Fordham to feed her spirit with a yoga teacher training and a metalwork exploration. Her store in Ridgewood, New Jersey, channels her boho chic sophistication, and her team. Oh my God, her team. They channel her sense of humor into all their sparkly things. Thank you so much for doing this, Katie Diamond.
Thanks for inviting me.
This is so cool that like every time I'm like, Katie, you wanna? You're like, yeah, sure. Okay, let's go for it.
I love doing anything with you.
I love how like light and spirited you are. And first of all, I did not know you were pre-med major.
Well, I wasn't a pre-med major. I went to school at FIT first.
Okay.
Well, first I went to Drew University. I never really knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So then I transferred to FIT. I knew I was into fashion and beautiful things, and graduated from there, and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So
Really?
yes, after that I decided I'd go back to school.
Okay.
For pre-med. I thought maybe I wanted to be a doctor.
So interesting.
Yeah. So I started taking classes at Fordham.
Yeah.
At the same time, I did my yoga teacher training, and I started taking metalworking classes.
So how does that work? How are you like, you just felt a pull towards metalworking?
Yeah. I mean, I always liked anything crafty. Like if you ask my mom, I was always making like clothes, like stitching things for my sister growing up. And I just like to do anything with my hands.
And then how did metalwork turn into like a career for you?
Let's see. I really felt a draw towards it. Now, at that time, I had a showroom in New York where I was representing different designers. So
Jewelry designers?
clothing designers.
Okay.
But it was in like the same industry. There was a show in New York that we used to do called Designers and Agents. So I had all these buyer contacts, and it wasn't like how it is now. Like, do you watch Portlandia? Like she's making,
No.
do you?
What
It's
is
such a
it?
funny show. It's with Fred Armisen.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they do a skit like she's making jewelry now. And it's like how everyone's a jewelry designer.
Okay.
So when I was taking these classes and doing these shows, not everyone was a jewelry designer.
Right.
So I put together this very small line and
So cool.
and showed it. And our first order was from Calypso on the East Coast and Fred Siegel on the West Coast.
How
So
cool
it
is
was
that?
like just really amazing. And
That's so cool. So
Yeah.
how did you decide like, okay, I'm going to stop going to school to be a doctor. I'm really going to.
because I was terrible at it. I mean, it was not for me, it just wasn't for me.
I had a job in fashion that every day I was like, I am terrible at this.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't feel, I was checking off all the like boxes. I was like doing it right, but it didn't feel right. And like,
Yeah.
I guess for somebody to understand, I think it's a certain type of person who says, I felt a pull towards.
Definitely. And like that was my father. I grew up, my father was a doctor. He has such a rewarding life from it. And I guess I was sort of inspired by that, but it just was not the same connection for me.
Well, I think it's so cool that you were saying like I'm going to create a little line. How many pieces is the first line that you create?
It was probably like 20, I'd say.
And then you tapped into your buyer contacts.
Yeah.
And you were like,
And it was really
so
like
cool.
an immediate hit.
And then that's it. That's your career.
That's it. It just worked out. It just, so much of it I think is luck too, because there's so many talented people. It's just like everything has to fall into line, and
Yeah.
it's
So now you have the store, right? This is fast forward like a lot of years later.
A lot of years later.
And you have the store. Are you still fidgeting and metalworking and...
Yeah. So basically right now we're opening the second store and we have a whole workspace downstairs. So we're making that like a collective and we're going to have our jewelry production studio down there. Right now we have everything in Hackensack. So it's like just not close enough. And I don't get to work on the bench as much as I'd like to. So now we'll have that downstairs and we're going to have friends of ours that have a clothing line working down there as well. So it's just going to be this really cool collaborative environment.
And creative.
Yeah.
So I feel like I had a career in education and a career in fashion. I had I jumped around a little bit, and it wasn't until I was working with my hands that things really shifted for me.
Yeah.
Like I found myself not particularly adept, like I didn't have great fine motor skill, anything like that. But I found myself whenever I was stressed, whenever I needed to focus, I found myself wanting to sit down and do eyelash extensions. And I wasn't particularly crafty, anything like that. Do you find that there's a connection for you emotionally with when you're creating with your hands?
Absolutely. And I can't ever, I have to be in the mood to do it too. And it depends what I'm creating because some of it's like so inspired and active, I'd say. Like my mind's going and I'm super excited. And other times it's like super repetitive and relaxing. And so it really depends like what I'm working on.
I feel like when you work with your hands, and I think about this, like when they said like, the trades are dying and things like that. There's such a quieting that goes on of like the noisiness in your mind. Like even when you're really creative, it's like I find that my mind was like super noisy and like I need to create. But then once you're creating, it sort of goes.
Yeah, it's totally like a meditative thing.
Does your team create too?
Yes. So they're super creative. I mean, Kristen is our stamping queen. Like she also does calligraphy. I mean, I'm like always encouraging her. I feel like to do more of that because she is so she's super artistic and talented. And Amanda too. I mean, she always has like ideas for new styles and designs. Like I think that we work in a super supportive and, it's not just me doing this. It's like definitely the team.
It's so cool. So I want to jump and really tell everybody the story I share pretty often about you that made me like super fall in love with you, which was that I was running to grab something to eat on the street and I kept wanting to go into your store. And I was with my business partner, Shannon, and she said, come on, let's just like go in there, blah, blah, blah. So I had just come from lunch and we popped in there and you were in your little back office and you were eating lunch. And I was like, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to introduce myself. And you were eating a turkey sandwich on a potato roll. Which, hallelujah.
The best thing ever. The best thing you can have for lunch.
Oh my God. And I was like, oh my God, you're eating a potato roll. Like I feel, it's good to eat salads and all that kind of stuff. But it was just like such a real.
I mean, I can't live on salads.
No, me either. But I just felt like it was such like a real girl kind of lunch. And I was like, hey, I have a bag of chips in my bag because I just came from lunch.
I remember this.
Do you want some chips? And you looked at me and you were like, for real? I was like, yeah, you took the chips, you take out the chips, you open your potato roll, take the chips, put it on the turkey sandwich, smash the potato roll. I was like, I'm in
oh my God, I am
with this
starving right now because I had a salad for dinner.
But I was like, this is a cool girl. She's smashing chips on her potato roll turkey sandwich.
And it was like besties since then.
Yes, and I think at that point, even in that moment, we started talking about, how things were, how business was or whatever. And I knew immediately how much you valued your team.
Oh, thanks.
Which is in complete alignment with how much I value my team.
Oh my God, absolutely.
And I wanted to talk about that because I think that's a differentiating factor. I think it's what makes so much of the experience in Katie Diamond feel super different. And I think it's what draws a lot of people into your space, but like into like the energy of it, because it feels like it's a collective. It feels very empowered. So how tell me about like your team and like how you see it all working out with them, kind of thing.
Okay, so first of all, I think that I treat them so well, and you get that like feeling when you walk in because they are so good. Yeah. Like they are, I mean, I feel so lucky, no joke. Like they are so responsible. Mm-hmm. They're so committed. Mm-hmm. They care so much like about what's going on, about the brand. They buy into the like they are invested in what we're doing there, so and they're a part of it. You know, they are it. Like
it's so cool.
I don't know. I mean,
how did you find your team?
Okay, Kristen interned for me during college, and as soon as I had an opening, I called her, and she accepted the job right away, and she's been with me ever since. And Amanda, I put an ad on Indeed.
No way! That's how you found Amanda.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah. So, and really, we've had like very, very good luck with the people that we've hired, and they've, you know, stuck with us. And even part-time people. Yeah. We have.
Yeah, you have seasonal people sometimes, right?
Who are amazing and responsible and care and represent. And
I just think like attracts like, though, and you keep it. I hate to say like you keep it so positive, because I think you do keep it positive, but I think you also keep it very real. Like life happens, shitty things in life happen. That's also why I find our conversations so rich. Everything about this podcast is what it takes to be luminous and sparkly, and all that is building some of the grit when you go through life's difficult things.
Right.
But leaning into your support system, leaning into yourself, believing in yourself. And I feel like, you know, your team, you've gone through some things.
Oh my gosh. This past year, I feel like we've all had things that we've dealt with, and I mean, I don't know if we're just open or that we work so closely together that it's impossible not to share, but we have become each other's like support system, and we have been there for each other, and, you know, covered for each other when things are going on, been shoulders to cry on. I mean, you cultivate the exact same thing here.
And it's, you know, some people say to me sometimes, oh, like it must be so hard to work with women. And I want to be like, why do you think that?
Oh my God, it's like the most amazing thing.
Isn't it the greatest?
And we've learned so much from each other, and going through these things, and how to be stronger, and how to let go, and how to...
Yeah, and everybody, I find what's really interesting, you know, I work with, you know, my team is from, I think, 22 up to 50 something, 51 maybe. And everybody is in different parts of their life a little bit ahead of the other, right? So I'm even learning things from the 22-year-old.
Oh, I'm
sure. I'm going, why didn't I think of it that way? Or that's another way that I can consider it. Or she leads by example in this way, all the way obviously to, you know, to women in their 50s, to, you know, that age like around when you're like turning 30 and things are like, oh my God, life is, I'm almost 30, all of that. I feel like I'm learning from them all the time, and they're learning from me. I think it's great to work with women.
I do too. I mean, I can't, we joke around that it's like a no man zone.
That's funny. But do men come and shop in the store?
Tons, yes.
And so what's that like? Because I feel like it has, it's, the store is like, has obviously a ton of stuff for women, has like a very feminine vibe, but I see when I even drive by, you can see that there are like men in there shopping.
Yeah. I mean, I think that men don't just wander in. They usually come in with either a picture their wife has texted them, their girlfriend has texted them, something that their daughter would like. Sometimes we do help them pick it out. A lot of times our retail store customers, we know because we're such a community-based store. So if they tell us their wife's name, we can usually say like, oh, she loves this. Or this would be perfect.
Right. You know her, right.
Yeah. So it's usually, it's nice dealing with the men. I mean, they just want help. They just want to make their wives
They're
happy.
just
They're just
help me.
Yes, help me.
And that's nice that you guys will help. I think, some of the feedback I've heard from like even men coming into spas, things like that, are like, I just want it to be easy. I want somebody to help me. I don't want it to be awkward.
And it's so nice too. Like, I love what I do. One of the reasons I love what I do is because I get to be part of someone's happy moment. Mm-hmm. So for the most part, they're not coming in for anything sad or negative. Like, this is something that's going to make someone so happy.
That's
and
so cool.
Yeah. And it's so sweet when you see someone, if you say like, oh, she likes this and this, and she'd be happy with either one. Like, there's just so much generosity. Sometimes,
That's
husbands
so
like,
cool.
I should get her both because she'd love that. You know what I mean? It's just like so nice.
Cute. What is coming up for Katie Diamond next? We've already talked about that you're opening your second location.
Yes.
But what does that mean?
Okay. So I'm actually so excited about this because we're doing it. So we're calling it The Collective.
Oh, cool.
And it's going to be clothing, but it's also going to be a series of pop-up shops and collaborations because I really wanted to do something that was like more community-oriented. I think that retail is changing so much. Like, every business is changing with the internet. But I think that and I'm sure you feel this too with your spa. I mean, there is such a need for like that human connection still. Like, we're running a successful retail business even in the even when people are saying that retail is dying.
Exactly.
Like, isn't that
crazy?
Yeah, like across the board maybe the numbers are down for retail in general, but I think that if you are doing something cool and different than people are doing, people want that.
And you do something memorable, right?
Yeah.
And you have a positive interaction with a human being. Like, the pendulum swings in every direction. The other day I heard, we're in the age of digital and everyone's podcasting and there's artificial intelligence and everything gets like, more automated and more everything. And I'm listening to, my girls were lashing each other, two of my girls, and they were listening to a podcast, but one of them said, no, not this episode. In the last episode, the guy, blah, blah, blah. In this episode, this character, blah, blah, blah. And I thought immediately, oh my God, it doesn't matter how podcasty it is. We're in old time radio days. Remember, when there was no TV and families would you see pictures of families gathered around the radio? Like, it swings.
You're so right.
And so there is a lot of, online shopping and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that there's not room for a small retail store to make it.
And so you're going to have clothes?
So we're going to have clothing. I'm so excited about it.
Is it going to be like your style?
It's all my style. It's kind of like boho, a little bit like rock and roll.
I love that.
Relaxed. I love a good pair of sweatpants.
I love that, Katie.
Yeah, we're going to do these like beautiful Indian sandals. So a lot of it is like inspired by my travels. So usually when I travel somewhere, I'll find new brands from there or local artisans and then bring stuff back. So like, since I've had the store, we've done like a Morocco section, we've done an India section. I was just in Australia, so I found some really cool Australian designers that we'll bring into this shop.
That's so cool. Do you envision your shop? Like, do you envision like lots of Katie Diamond stores around the nation? Do you how do you?
Okay, so
what's the dream?
I'm not 100% sure. Like, I'm really enjoying where I am right now. Yeah, honestly, so like cool. I feel like things are good for me. I have a really like manageable, happy life. So, we had a store 2 years ago in Montclair, and that was super challenging for me. We still had the store in Ridgewood. And I think it was honestly like the first thing that I did professionally that I put a lot of energy into that didn't work out.
It's so cool that you're talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, when I was going through it, I think it was like really challenging. I mean, physically challenging too, like just to be commuting that far and having the store here and going back and forth and having two kids and not having a nanny and juggling.
Yeah.
And the store just never took off the way that this one did. I don't know if it was location. I don't know if it was that I didn't have ties to the community. I don't know if we didn't do the right marketing.
Yeah.
It just never, we never developed like that community around it the way that we have
in
here.
Ridgewood.
Yes.
Right, because the Ridgewood community like has embraced you in every like single way. You're like,
it's been
incredible,
amazing. And like honestly, I've met so many friends through the store,
right?
Too. Like it attracts such an amazing type of woman,
your vibe, babe.
It's just really, it's great. It's made me so happy and fulfilled.
So what happens when you're like, oh shit, I don't know if this second location, this Montclair location, is working out? Like, what is that like?
I mean, it's like a total like blow to your ego, honestly.
It is, right?
Yeah, it's hard to like, have something that doesn't go well. You know, that like you're going in there and you're sitting there and waiting for someone to come in all day.
It reminds me of...
And you have to wake up the next day and do it again.
It's crazy.
It is.
It reminds me of like that quiet that like you have to show when you show up on your yoga mat and you're not sure what's going to show up and you just have to like sit there and wait to process whatever comes. It's like showing up to like an empty class, or like if you're going to have a party and you don't know if people are going to show up. It's like that kind of crickets.
Exactly. And like
Scary.
they don't.
Oh,
So
yeah.
So luckily, I mean, I always think about like I am so lucky that wasn't my first store, because I wouldn't have opened a second store. I would have never tried it again. Yeah. So being that it was my second store, like I was okay. It wasn't a huge investment. I was able to move my inventory into Ridgewood. Ridgewood was successful at the time, so it wasn't like I had to close my business because one store failed.
Right.
So in the grand scheme of things, it was okay.
Right.
It was, and it definitely is one of those. I'm someone that freaks out over things.
Right.
I feel like it was such a lesson that like, it's okay.
Right.
Like no matter what.
Did you have a freak out?
Oh my God. I mean, I was so stressed. I was so sad and stressed, you know? It's like, and it's hard when people are coming in with the best intentions and they're like, how's Montclair? And you're like, it's okay.
It's great.
It's getting there.
So Montclair didn't take off, but Ridgewood was growing.
Yes.
The entire time.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like, so then that's hard too when something's growing and it's like you're understaffed there because you have to be in another location. So it was just like very tricky to manage. And
so how long did it take to let like the pride and the hurt kind of go? Like after you were closed?
I felt like I had to shut it down, and then I was able to be like, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Because even till the end, I was optimistic. Like I was like, we're going to be busy during Christmas.
I love that. I love that about you.
It's going to turn around.
Okay, so so now you've learned the lessons from Montclair.
I've learned the lessons, but I still want to open another one. So okay. That being said, I want to try this with the clothing because I do think that people get my style here. I think that there's like something here and it's different than what's happening other places, and I just want to give it a try. And I like the idea of collaborating with other women.
What's this deal with you and women? Like why I feel like I'm so tired of trying to explain to people how obsessed I am with you, with your team, with my team, that it's like this real like great amazing woman vibe. Like
so I don't know if it's because I grew up with sisters and a mom I'm very close to, and we had this, it was such a female energy house that's what I'm used to. Yeah. I have 2 boys who I love so much now.
They're so cute.
But living in a house with 2 sons and a husband is very different than growing up in a house with 2 sisters and a mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I get that from other women in my life, and that's why I'm so drawn to these creative, amazing women that I surround myself with.
How do you manage being an entrepreneur, you're going to have 2 stores.
Yeah.
And have your beautiful boys. How old are your boys?
They're 13 and 11.
Yeah. And so you've had your store since your
I've only
13-year-old
had
was
my
little.
store
Oh,
for 4 years,
yeah.
but I've always had my jewelry business. So I was always traveling and doing all these different trade shows, and we've sold to hundreds of stores worldwide. So I always had a career that took me away from them. Yeah.
And what is managing that like? Because I have one daughter, and I find it sometimes like I have to make the decision like, okay, I may not be the best mom today. I have to like put my nose down and like work on this.
Right.
Do you find that you're making those choices?
I try not to. I try to always err on the side of my kids.
Yeah,
I do. And like, I think I'm able to do that because of my team.
Yeah.
Like I have to be able to leave at 3 every day. That's like just, I didn't always do that, but now it's like a non-negotiable.
That's a really nice like arrangement. One of the things that I find really nice about having my own business is that when my daughter is sick and like let's say she just needs a break, like she just needs a day, like she can come with me and we can hang out, and she's
That's great.
in that environment. So they're like having that flexibility is sometimes so wonderful. I really admire that you're leaving every day at 3. I think that's goals for me.
I mean, I come back sometimes. I'll come back at 4 or 5, like depending on what's going on with them. If I'm dropping them at a practice or if they're like with their friends for a while, but I need to be home for like an hour to see what they have for homework, what they want to eat, what's going on, at least. They're not like hanging out with me anymore at that age as much. I wish they were.
Right. It happens.
But it just is that sort of, I feel like I have to be there. I think it gets like more intense as they get older too.
So too.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be easier a little bit to like be away more, but it's not. You kind of need to be there more.
And then that's part of the thing with me having businesses close to my house. Like I have the flexibility to run home or to, and then to come back.
So that's what I'm most excited about is that your new store is going to be literally on the same block as
We're going to
my
eat
place.
Turkey sandwiches on potato rolls with potato chips at least once a week.
I know. That sounds like the best. I think that this community, Ridgewood, is really lucky to have you, Katie. I think that
right back at you.
You might not even realize how big of an impact your presence has.
Oh my gosh, you're so nice.
It's true. You are leading with integrity. You're doing business with integrity.
Thanks.
You're building your employees. You're building women, and you're building community. You're strengthening the community. And I think that that's going to go really far. Like the ripples. When you put a pebble in a lot of ripples. I think your girls take care of the clients in the way that you would want to take care of the clients. And I'm so happy to meet somebody who's so aligned in our values in life and in business.
I think we knew as soon as we met each other, though, because everything you're saying to me, I could be saying to you.
Thanks, Katie Diamond.
That's true.
Thanks for sitting and talking and telling us about all your Katie Diamond things. And I love you, and I'm so happy you're going to be on the block.
Thanks.
Me
too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Luminous Life Podcast. If you like the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. And to check out all things Beauty, Skin, Soul, you can find us at www.getluminous.com. See you next time.